Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime series with Kevin, where we add value to people's lives, happening every day on ebizradio.com, every day at 12 o'clock. Guys, back with the marketing segment, we've got Craig Pagely joining us for today's discussion. Craig, how are you doing?
I'm well, and you, Kevin. Yeah, good to be on the court again.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. So interesting conversation we had last week, but we had a really good session where we picked up on a highly relevant topic and covered some controversial points about brands that exploit their so-called sustainable brand positioning. An example of that being highlighted in the Seaspiracy documentary, where certain brands were carrying out the Dolphin Safe logo on the canned tuna labels, when in fact the producers of the canned tuna could not prove that 100% dolphin free at all. It was a really interesting insight and stuff that I think a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. And it was really great that you actually watched the documentary as well. And this weekend, a whole host of friends spoke long and hard around it. And actually, one of the guys asked what the one takeout was for each of us on it. So a great continuum of conversation. But from that, as we understand, greed and money really is the overriding factor driving the world today, and this kind of inauthentic behavior by some brands remains a reality. Fortunately, however, the power is to a large degree shifting into the hands of the consumers, where when they've done sufficient background checks on these kinds of claims, Kevin, they're definitely able to vote with their wallets and purchase brands that are justifiably authentic in their environmental statements and obviously the manufacturing and production processes.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you mentioned the existence of Eco-Label Index, the Eco-Label Index, which provides a centralized place for consumers to ascertain what these labels mean and what initiatives are in place that support the sustainable production and contribute to the green economy. So before you reveal what we're going to be chatting about today, please will you give us a sort of a summary and some key points of our takeaway last week?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Kevin. Good place to pick up on that conversation. And I think, again, we could never overemphasize the need for brands to develop sustainable production and manufacturing processes, and most importantly, to educate consumers on these initiatives and how they're contributing to driving the green agenda. And the one thing we spoke about last week, we felt that there were possibly some gaps in some of the consumer advocacy programs. So last week, I referenced a few simple comms tips to help marketers position their sustainable products better. And I want to just re-emphasize these as the takeaway points, Kevin. So the article that we looked at last week was written by Denise Delhoff, and it was titled 5 Communication Tips to Market Sustainability, and noted as follows. So the first point there was consider localizing your message. Sustainability does not mean the same thing to everyone. A really great point around. Consumers around the world associate sustainability with very different areas of focus. For example, in North America, mostly it's associated with recycling. In Europe and Middle East Africa, shoppers associate sustainability with fair pricing. In Latin America, sustainability is referenced as an alternate source of energy. And people in Asia Pacific associate sustainability with the environment. So you can see key messages need to come out to address the particular different approaches to the association understanding of sustainability. Point 2 is to seek certification. So shoppers often refrain from buying these goods and brands with the better environmental practices due to the fact there's a lack of information out there. So they either can't find the information because it's too time consuming to research, and secondly, they possibly don't even trust the statements that these brands are making. And this is where we talk about the Eco-Label Index, where at least there's a go-to place for consumers to at least get some kind of sense of validity and affirmation around the certification on sustainability claims. The third point is aim for transparency. So shoppers are increasingly interested in the supply chain transparency, including the materials used, the production processes adopted, and the working conditions, but they often lack sufficient info about these things as well. The leading reason that consumers do not buy brands with fair labor practice claims is that consumers really don't know which brands are actually being fair. And considering the increasing discussions around the world around minimum wages and gender pay equity, fair labor practice definitely is going to be one of the points that rise up the consideration spectrum moving forward. Point 4 is visualize and humanize. One way to make transparency feel real is to give customers a visual peek behind the scenes of the workers, the environments, the business processes, and the brand's sustainability practices. With research showing that when consumers are given a view behind the curtain, it has many benefits and most definitely helps increase customers' trust and satisfaction and ultimately leads to increased sales. And then the last point in this section here is point number 5, which is communicate concrete benefits of sustainability. So help your customers understand the positive impact of sustainable products by connecting the business, at least the benefits, to everyday lives. And one way this is done is express energy efficiency in financial terms rather than in energy saving terms, because people clearly understand the money factors better than scientific metrics. And companies can express their benefits of sustainable packaging in concrete terms, such as the amount of plastic waste that was avoided, or the number of trees saved, and also a chance to showcase products that are made from some of these recycled materials. So yeah, brands that effectively adopt this approach, Kevin, are definitely building trust with consumers, which ultimately they become the winners at purchase consideration point.
Fantastic, Craig. So, guys, if you are tuning in with us, everything that we've just mentioned are on the previous shows that we have. We've been having a bit of a follow-up series. So if you want to go and check out some of that information, it is on the YouTube channel, the Lunchtime series with Kevin, or you can just check it out on ebizradio.com. You'll see all the podcasts are there. So now with that said, Craig, what are you going to share with us today?
Okay, yeah, I mentioned last week that I wanted to continue this journey from packaging. So we started with green economy, then we went into the entire green label aspect and picking up on the sustainability programs behind brands. So today I want to see how that moves into innovation and what those trends are that are driving packaging today, and how marketers are using design to stand out on shelf and how to demonstrate their green credentials on the back of this commitment.
Fantastic, Craig. This sounds like a fascinating one. Another fascinating one.
Yeah, oh gosh. So I thought it appropriate to start off by looking at what has been driving packaging the past decade and how consumers are influencing this in innovation, Kevin. And yeah, I referenced quite a few articles that I found on the packaging.com site, which really is a rich source of information. And there are a number of consistent trends influencing packaging design over the past decade, but brands have really had to step up their game in certain areas so as to remain relevant and meet the ever-changing needs and demands for consumers. So drawing from the following articles, there's 3 that I'm going to reference here. I pulled a list of trends together that define the influence of packaging. So the 3 articles, Kevin, are 5 global packaging trends. First one written by Jim Lucas, EVP of Global Stratton Insights at Chalk Incorporated. The second article is 10 key trends in global retail packaging, posted by Lisa McTeague, executive editor. And the third article that I reference is 5 brands and packaging trends for 2020, published by Josh White. So to kick off the session, I want to quote directly from a paragraph from Josh White's submission, which is a really good opening statement, and it reads as follows. Successful brands will be those that find creative ways to express their overarching brand attributes, delivering clear, unified brand assets, telling stories that have the power to change consumer behavior, and in some cases, start a revolution on store shelves. Now, isn't that what all packaging wants to be achieving?
Starting a revolution on a shelf,
yeah, fantastic.
It's a whole new kind of wow.
So I pulled a few key themes from those 3 articles. So let me take you through these. So as expected, I'll start with the first being sustainability and environmental awareness. And here, consumers really want to know if the product or packaging delivers on the claim. The next point is a nice combination of honesty, authenticity, credible, and traceable, with consumers wanting to know information about the locale, the traceability, the connection between the food, the products, their origins, and the honesty claims of the delivery of promise. The third being branding, brand sophistication, and simplicity, which is helping to achieve standout on shelf, part of that revolution, and allowing marketers and retailers to amplify a brand's essence, connect with the brand's heritage, and stimulate interest in trial and purchase. This will demonstrate brand premium value and allow consumers to express themselves through the choice. What we also see here, Kevin, is the effective use of the less is more principle. And I must admit, I adhere to this principle and support this very, very avidly, is shape, form, design, and content needs to be clearly considered and decluttered and bring a clarity and a purity to consumers. Increasing.
Craig, I just want to point out,
yes.
I think on that note, that stuff that people sometimes take for granted, right? Like that clear packaging and that obvious subliminal brain kind of connection. You go, yes, it looks like this. If you're walking down the shelf, like, yeah, I know exactly how it looks. If I see it, I can, and that speaks to really how this influences how we actually, why packaging can be so important.
Yes, and that doesn't mean that it has to be devoid of any character or style or things like that. But what it means is that you shouldn't have to search for the product name, descriptor, or brand name in itself as well. The imagery and the information on the pack shouldn't override that you actually just go straight past it because it's a visual blur in your decision-making process.
Yeah.
Point 4 here is the increasing influence of store brands, and this I really think we should actually pick up as a topic moving forward one day as well. Nearly 20% of all products currently sold by retail stores were store brands or house brands, Kevin. And, that doesn't mean that there's a lack of quality. So increased product quality, the appearance of more sophisticated packaging, etc. And these are just two of the contributing factors to this growth pattern. So fully entrenched, high investment brands are really having to work harder on this particular area, in this particular area, I should say, because the in-store brands are claiming a lot of power back again. Point 5 is
sorry, I was on that.
Yes.
Sorry, Craig. But I just saw a jacket that I wanted to actually buy this weekend from Guess, and purely based on the fact that it had a Guess label on it, I immediately made the assumption that this is a trustworthy brand and I know I'm going to get quality from it. So I was like searching for the actual label on the actual jacket, just purely based on the actual branding of that name and knowing that I relate that to something I trust and good quality. I'm like, it's so obvious.
I really like the fact that you reference the fashion and apparel space, because if you look at a CPG brand, Tiger Brands in South Africa, the range of products, P&G, Unilever, they've invested billions of dollars into their brand positioning and the quality and the formats and the variables and permutations. The likes of Pick and Pay, Shoprite, Checkers, Woolworths, and Macro bringing their own brands to the fore. There's a great place for them to prove the value of those brands, to prove the quality of those brands, prove the proof points of those brands in a CPG space. When you start entering other categories like clothing and apparel and sportswear and things like that, I think it's a harder sell. And let's just pick on this topic for a minute. I walk into Woolworths. I'm not necessarily going to go and purchase a great pair of sneakers from Woolworths because the credibility factor is not necessarily in place. However, a great pair of hand-stitched leather shoes for Woolworths is by far right up there in the spectrum of best quality. So again, it's relative to the kind of product that you're associating with against that in-store brand. I'd walk across the passage and head off to Nike instead. Increasing influence, great topic, and I think we should really look at that moving forward.
Yeah.
Again, in light of this in-store brands, prepared food, Kevin, there's a considerable growth of prepared food, heat and eat and grab and go food choices, and this is definitely one area where the in-store brands are starting to gain and claw back some of the spend into their own environment. And lastly, in fact, not lastly, I've got 3 more to go, sorry. liquids in flexible packaging. So a number of the liquid brands have adopted flexible packaging formats, from our soups to coffee, wine, baby food, and energy drink. And consumers really appreciate the convenience and portability of these flexible products. But this has also led to something that I really experienced in Europe, and I think we'll eventually see in a much bigger realm in this country, is the refillable trends, Kevin, where those flexible packages, consumers can reuse their original products and bottles coming back into store and refilling each time. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm purchasing the refillables in flexible packages and using the plastic vessel that I purchased the first time, but definitely, an appropriate flexible package you can bring back into store to refill. So yeah, and again, there's a nice segue into shoppers managing their budgets, because a lot of this innovation is on the back end of trying to maintain budgets and make it more affordable for consumers to have some kind of quality experience with the brand. So shopping behavior has definitely changed in response to economic situation, with more of the just-in-time purchasing, such as the drop-in for fill-in or top-off trips, and less pantry loading. I think that is very much a reality today. This has also led to the introduction of much smaller, easy-to-carry packs with lower price points. And then finally, the changing demographics and aging population, which is seeing some really great innovation in packaging design, because obviously aging consumers really battle with some of the mechanisms to open packaging and the various formats. So there's a real need to develop a lot more user-friendly formats, and obviously increase labeling, font sizes and things like that make it easier to use and read and understand.
So all we need, Craig, is we need those refillable what did you call it, the just-in-time purchases that you can actually refill your liquids and stuff with. If we got those brands to move to an eco kind of friendly refillable bag that you could throw away, that you could like plant in the garden, then would make a big impact on the environment as well. But I'm digressing. So
yeah, I like that, Kevin. Just don't stop on that point. I really like the fact that the self-help aspect comes out of that as well. And that's another big driver in retail formats per se as well. So we're going to, in fact, on the back of the refillables and all of those kinds of things, I want to then lead us into the changing formats of retail stores as well. I think that could be a really nice a conversation moving forward, and where does the self-help proposition at the point of shelf, and then the self-help proposition at the actual checkout point as well. So those are two key ones I'll definitely pick up on for a future conversation.
Yeah, because I'm just like connecting these dots, going, if that's part of your marketing drive, and you're kind of going, well, it's raising the bar on credibility and trust factor and eco factor, and then you're kind of going, well, suddenly you're raising the bar of your brand based on the fact that you're creating sustainability, but you're also giving that factor of people making better choices to use it.
Correct.
So yeah, it's really fascinating. But yeah. I mean, I didn't fully comprehend the factors that are actually influencing packaging design until listening to the list that you've just shared. And I can totally relate to one or two of these points, as it becomes so obvious when you put them in context the way that you have. So the trends that I have noticed more frequently are like house or in-store brands, and how I've also been caught up in the just-in-time moments of brand purchase. Not necessarily from a budget management point of view, but from a lifestyle demand point of view.
Yeah, Kevin, that's the just-in-time thing is duality in meaning, quite right, and I think you've succinctly demonstrated that. So yeah, it's a big evolution relative to economic requirements, but there's also this time poor space that we live in. So the just-in-time convenience stores attached to the fuel forecourts and things like that, with the smaller packaging, with the in and out, there's definitely a big build around that as well. Quite right. Yeah. So on the back of that, there are definitely a couple of key trends that stood out as drivers for the current world we're looking at, Kevin. And from those articles I referenced earlier, I've pulled together 6 trends that I believe are quite influential in driving packaging design these days. The first being wellness. So the key to success in making it easier for shoppers to find what they're looking for is in the health and wellness category. And here the focus on information is absolutely essential in the minds of shoppers, like calling out benefits or the ingredients, etc. And it definitely makes it easier for shoppers to find the right products in these needs. And then, those shoppers are coming in a lot more informed with what they're looking for, and they're expecting those call outs on the packaging designs. Theft and shrinkage, a global phenomena. Packaging companies have been called upon to provide new security measures that safeguard the packaging, at least the products, from theft throughout the entire supply chain, and without obviously compromising customers' experience at point of sale or during checkout. Compliance packaging, very much on the back of the previous 2 conversations we had. This is clearly driving advances in compliance packaging to ensure, particularly around medical adherence by patients, and that the right information makes it onto the packaging. Point 4 is smart and connected packaging technologies, the likes of QR codes and mobile tech. QR codes are continuing to provide a wealth of information for consumer brands, including expanded product information, cost savings in packaging, as products require less in the way of inserts or printed information. And then the last 2 are really sexy and interesting areas for me. One being biodegradable bottles, specifically paper bottles. And this is very much driven by the anti-plastic sentiment. However, caveat here, there still is some kind of layer within the biodegradable bottle, but the sustainability programs are built in a way that the outer layer can be separated, and that inner layer is biodegradable but has to go through a separate process. And then obviously the outer cardboard or paper layer is clearly biodegradable or recyclable. And what's interesting here is the alcohol brands are actually a key in driving this kind of innovation. And then edible packaging, keep the best for last. So using the definition from the Collab Tree blog, we see that edible films and coatings may be arbitrarily defined as thin layers of material that can be eaten by the consumer as part of the whole food product. When a packaging like a film, a sheet, a thin layer, or a coating is an integral part of the food and is eaten with it, then it's qualified as an edible packaging. Edible packaging is a biopolymer designed to contain and protect the food from spoilage and to have the ability to biodegrade like the food it contains. And as food components, edible films and coatings usually have to be as tasteless as possible. So in order not to be detected during consumption of the edible food product. And when edible film and coatings have significant or particular taste and flavor to stimulate where it is sometimes lacking in the product, their sensory characteristics have to be compatible with those of the food. So, Kevin, we see that brands are definitely working hard to meet the ever-changing consumer demands and behavior and consumption patterns, and that product packaging innovation is essential to keep up with these demands.
Britz, I know you're referencing technology and all things digitally, e-commerce, for instance. But when you talk about smart and connected packaging, what exactly is that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, sure, Kevin. This again is a really great part of the packaging conversation. And I know we mentioned previously that I'm currently working with a client on the launch of a new CPG packaging range in South Africa. And as such, I've had to really come to terms with the packaging trends that I've covered in the session, as well as working closer with the packaging manufacturer in understanding what innovation we can introduce to the consumer journey with this brand. And technology is clearly an area that we've addressed, and one that I believe will become a standard across most high touch and high engagement packaging. So let me take you through some of that thinking. So the concept of tech-centric packaging is really where it's at. And I'm going to reference some information published on a BizCom article from earlier this year, titled, "Why Smart Packaging Can Be a Valuable Brand Differentiator, This was published by Robert Lockyer, and the article addresses the topic through the opening statement that the new era of smart packaging and consequently products will connect, improve, and transform industries and shape new consumer expectations. Now, Robert provides a simple definition in that smart packaging refers to a container or an outer shell of a product that has extended functions. He states the concept is nothing new, as these functions are often the reason specific materials have been chosen for use in the packaging of certain products. For instance, in the food market, it's common to find fresh produce wrapped in film with an ethylene absorber in order to lengthen shelf life, or for bottles to be filled with oxygen-absorbing caps to keep the drinks fresher for longer. And here's where the real intriguing opportunities are really relevant and revealed, Kevin, because typically in other FMCG markets, packaging has largely remained disconnected from products that it contains, with packaging merely being seen as a vessel and a means for transportation or a protective outer layer, where however, the shift in perception with many brands investing smart functions of their packaging in order to add value to their products. And consumers are definitely beginning to expect more and more of this from brands as a result, Kevin. So two areas that the tech-centric approach is becoming quite prevalent, one being in the healthcare space that we spoke about, and other in the beverage industry, interestingly, that I spoke about relative to the paper packaging. So we all know that health-conscious consumers love their smart devices, and I think you may well be wearing one now. I'm wearing one as well. And an increased use of technology, which in turn is putting huge pressure on companies to deliver smart tech-ready packaging, like infusing the RFID chips, the radio frequency identity sensors into water bottles, coffee mugs, etc. The beverage industry is also an early leader in the adoption of this tech-centric approach, where some of these companies are introducing health drinks, tonics, and herb or CBD infused products that speak directly to devices, enabling users to automatically track their beverage consumption via health apps. Not only can they track their progress towards achieving their health goals, but actually, Kevin, these packaging devices can actually talk to the packs can talk to your device and actually signal when the right time is up to consume that particular product. Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's been really great working with the manufacturing, the packaging manufacturer Tetra Pak here in South Africa, I've come to learn quite a bit about how they're innovating and working to include tech in their packaging solutions, and the approach that Tetra Pak is taking on this topic is really great. Just as a side conversation, anybody who's interested in packaging, from a sustainability point of view, from a resource point of view, should really go and have a look at the Tetra Pak website. Tetra Pak globally are making phenomenal strides in this particular area, and it's worth a few minutes in getting to understand the layers of investment to ensure green credentials in this particular place, in the space, and obviously to pull technology as a good connector with consumers. So packages are rapidly transforming into channels for information and interaction. The industry has already taken its first important steps on the journey from traditional packaging to tomorrow's intelligent packaging. It all began with codified package, which had a printed code, QR code, but limited connectivity. Now we've reached step 2, the connected package, where we're combining Tetra Pak's connected package platform with unique code printing to enable consumer engagement solutions, and soon also packaging traceability. Beyond this lies step 3, intelligent packaging. In the future, packaging and devices will be able to communicate with one another, providing new levels of service and insights for customers and consumers.
Craig, yeah. I'm sure just like, I'm just listening to that statement. Packaging will be able to communicate with each other. Like half the people going, what the hell? When does packaging become like that? You know?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the digital transformation that the world's undertaking, and at such a rapid, transformation. So like,
absolutely, and it's possible, Kevin, with the digital technology. the connected package is absolutely a reality. And the opportunities are already opening up as more and more manufacturers are tapping into the connectivity enabled by digitalization. And with unique scannable codes on each pack, products are instantly transformed into interactive media channels. So for instance, connected package solutions fall into the two categories, one consumer engagement and one track and trace. So the talking to technology in a track and trace is through sensors, the very principle that organizations would use with asset registries. A product moved from one side of the building to another, from one office to another. Packaging RFID moves through the value chain into the delivery truck, into store, and at each one of those points there's a digital scan, and there's an ability to define exactly where the product is. Also, obviously, when you at the point of sale, that package is registered as having left the sale and a transaction being in place that goes into a stock management and inventory control system in the back end as well. But from a consumer engagement point of view, let's have a quick look at that. So the connected package becomes a gateway to exciting new digital experiences for consumers. They can simply scan a code to test the authenticity of a brand or unlock cool marketing campaigns, scan and win a promo, loyalty campaigns, product provenance information, etc., etc. Consumer engagement gives brand owners a way to break through the noise and interact with their target groups in ways that differentiates their offer, increase loyalty, and boost sales. Meanwhile, consumer data can be collected and analyzed in real time. Where the product's purchased, who purchased it, is it a repeat purchase, etc., etc. Yeah. So from a track and trace point of view, the new code will soon be able to enable that end-to-end traceability that I talk about with the Tetra Pak connected package platform, making it possible to track products throughout the entire value chain, to improve production, to improve quality control, and to improve the supply chain transparency as well. Manufacturers here will be able to track and trace history of location of any of the products, making it possible to monitor their market performance and spot potential issues. Likewise, retailers will gain greater supply chain visibility and real-time insights, enabling distribution to track stock movements, monitor delivery performance, and get alerts when problems arrive. And just, Kevin, if you look at purely around a product recall, if one is able to understand that the recall might only be around a batch in a particular region at a particular time, then you're able to isolate and ring fence that environment without having to recall an entire country's worth of product. So the benefits are also multiple. So for manufacturers and brand owners, the new connected package platform will enable end-to-end traceability to improve product efficiencies, improve the quality controls and transparency, and the manufacturers are able to trace and track the history, etc., as I mentioned earlier. For retailers, it'll offer greater supply chain visibility for real time, enabling the retailers or e-commerce retailers to track stock movements, receive alerts when issues occur, monitor delivery performance. Full transparency throughout the supply chain soon becomes full. And then for consumers, it'll enable access to vast amounts of information on where the product was made, the farm, the ingredients, where they came from, and can the packaging be recycled and where the materials came from as well. It also opens up a really good direct communication channel to their favorite brand through the fun games and apps where they can give feedback.
Yeah, Craig, it's as you're talking, considering everything, I don't even think we're at the forefront of understanding what potentially this means, for brands. If this is something we're just starting to sort of create and get our brains wrapped around, you're kind of going, well, where does this leave us? So where does this move us to, and how will this, influence how we use any kind of brand? It's really fascinating. But I mean, we've covered some really insightful points on topic of packaging design, and it's really reassuring to see the brands are pushing the boundaries in terms of technology and innovation in this field. So especially the likes of edible packaging and paper bottles. I mean, yeah. I've never even heard of paper bottles before. I'm like, what? So with all of this complexity in place, is it possible to simplify the different kinds of packaging that consumers come across and experience on a daily basis?
Yeah, Kevin, you're absolutely right. There's a hell of a lot to take in, and there are many new concepts here which probably just blow the minds of some of the listeners. But yeah, let me provide a brief overview of the various packaging categories, because that will help our listeners understand where the various points and trends we've covered apply and how these points actually influence their experience with packaging. So four key categories that packaging fall into. Primary product packaging, secondary product packaging, point of purchase display packaging, and digital print packaging. So quickly to dive into that. Primary packaging is the last piece of packaging between the product and the consumer, and it's generally made with a variety of materials, including paper, glass, plastic, metal, etc., etc. It's definitely the shape of the package is formed by the purpose of the product, and often remains on the product right until the consumer receives and engages with that product, and is usually not removed right until the purchase of at least until the product is actually used. Primary packaging should be informative, it should be attractive, it should provide all the raw product data with and protection. And durability is incredibly important here to prevent damage from the product, and also to mitigate the fact that any damaged package, a consumer may perceive that the product's actually defective when it might not necessarily be so. So secondary product packaging. So secondary product packaging is used to combine multiple quantities or multiple types of products. And the packaging is also made with a variety of materials depending on the purpose. Types of secondary packaging include luxury packaging, that lovely internal layering that you get when you open your package, specialty packaging, gift with purchase packaging, so gift within the product you purchased, VIP boxes and presentations, sales presentation kits, influencer kits, product launches, special press releases, at least special release kits, and then press kits as well. So each of those having multiple layers of information and multiple touch points of engagement during the process of unboxing. And then your point of purchase display packaging. As consumers shopping habits and product tastes change, so does the product display packaging, and it's essential that remains relevant and on point as well. So display comes in a variety of shapes, sizes, materials, and functions, each of which is determined by the product category, and longevity in the retail establishment. It can also be dependent on the brand and retailer needs, the requirements and desired customer experiences. Digital printing and packaging. Well, the rise of digital printers allowed brands to very quickly change the graphic and text on packaging as needed. And often retailers such as Walmart require packaging designed for a product or a point-of-sale display that is different from the Target or Mayer. For example, digital print is flexible enough to make these changes without the packaging or point of production producer needing to incur extra costs. So literally they can use the same templates, create a new design from one retailer to the next, carrying the same product, but with a different message or the different design on it. So packaging and consumer purchase decisions, safety, 75% say that of consumers say that a purchase decision is impacted by packaging made from materials that prevent the product from leaking or breaking. Delivery, 75% of consumers say delivery features such as making sure the packaging from delivery services is securely closed, and important, 81% of online shoppers value delivery features as well. Convenience, 76% of consumers want easy to open packaging, and another 76% say that features like resealability are important. Something that definitely is driving innovation, and the likes of some of the resealable chocolate slabs that we came across in recent time.
That's amazing, because I'm just thinking, like when something's been opened already, and you have some kind of technology that says this food's been opened already, or this is, it's just crazy, Craig. I'm like, I can't even. I didn't know this, and I'm like, it's so fascinating.
Yeah,
so,
resealable chocolate slabs. Not, a lot of people just say, why on earth would you want that? But I know Beacon spent in order to mount in developing a really great proposition that you can take out your piece and reseal your slab, and it lasts longer, which is really cool.
That's amazing. So, we've covered some really insightful points on this topic of packaging design, and it's really reassuring to see that the brands are pushing the boundaries in terms of their technology and innovation in this field, especially when it's in the likes of edible packaging and paper bottles. So from the session today, what are the key points or tips that you can share with listeners? Guys, these conversations are all linked up. I would encourage you to go back and check out the lunchtime marketing segments happening every Thursday. So around 12 o'clock. So check it out, because all these conversations are really linked up. But I mean, Craig, for today, what are these takeaways?
Okay, so today I wanted to share a couple of points that address in essence, the creative aspects of packaging, Kevin, like the core elements of shape, material, the visual design and brand application, use of color and font, and referencing the white paper again. Brands and marketers applying the following simple tips will definitely gain an advantage on shelf. So it's important to know that branding and retail design are essential tools for helping product and service-centric businesses bring their unique story to life for their target market. Craftsmanship, authenticity, provenance from the narrative for engagement, and a platform for creating immersive, sensory, all-encompassing experiences that captivate and build ties with the consumer. Craft on pack is vitally important. Brands moving to emerging territories have become increasingly adept at understanding their target audiences in those new environments, and are able to bring that storytelling to life through physical and virtual assets. Design relevance to a particular audience in a particular market is vitally important as well. Changes to consumer shopping habits have seen opportunity for independent boutique and craft brands to steal both the hearts and market share of some of the larger brands because of the authentic brand storytelling. The more authentic it is, it's easier to tell a really great story and to be able to communicate that. And part of this communication comes from packaging itself. It possesses the biggest opportunity for brands to draw the eye via design and narrate the principle and ethos that sets that particular product apart from its competition. Clever brands use the medium to capture the spirit of the times by creating limited edition packaging that is currently of the moment and collectible, but they also look at the packaging as an opportunity to be retained and reused and upcycled. And the outer pack does become something that really becomes part of that immersive brand experience. And when you take the layer off and you open the box, that box is got a hinge and is really nicely layered inside, and the brand journey and storytelling continues inside, and you're going to keep that and you're going to reuse that box for other things as well. So in conclusion, the paper tells us the following, Kevin, that 72% of respondents note that packaging has a huge influence on purchase decision, and 67% of respondents believe that the packaging material actually influenced their purchase decision. Obviously, I think sustainability aspects driving a lot in that instance. The same paper tells us that 81% of respondents note that the packaging has a huge influence on gift purchase decisions. 61% of respondents believe that paper and cardboard packaging is more attractive, with 63% of respondents noting that the paper and cardboard packaging projects a premium quality as well.
Sure, that's amazing. Craig, just to add to everything that you've said today, I think we mentioned in our previous conversation the importance of having these conversations and really bringing an awareness around what the approaches are, what the options are, and just really educating and bringing a point to what's better in marketing, right? And I mean, to the point where I've gone and casually in my head started going, okay, cool, how am I going to start recycling on my behalf? And I've actually started taking action to putting measures in place. So I love that you're sharing information to the point where we're really starting to pick our brains and get our brains on board with is this something I can do at a micro level? Will it have some kind of impact in my environment? And having that awareness. So I'm loving it. I mean, and as a big brand, there's so many opportunities for them to make a difference and impact the world. But I mean, in terms of that, what are we going to move into from this conversation, Craig?
Yeah, I love your point of reference, impact the world. So next week, I actually want to extend the conversation into how brands are building social good platforms and these communities for cause, and how they're helping nonprofit organizations beyond just financial grants and actually showing up when it counts, Kevin. Stepping in. It's not just a paycheck, but it's really working with the community, it's creating real value and opportunity at the grassroots level, and making a commitment to help non-profit organizations transform the world.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. Guys, so if you want to join us, check it out every Thursday, happening on ebrisradio.com, and that's around 12 o'clock. We have our lunchtime marketing segment every Thursday. Craig, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, great conversation. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. Bye-bye.